the timer at that location has to be programmed as well.
And that's what I really want to highlight on is that, you know, even though this is a city project and it's been moving,
yes, sir.
According to the timeline, that all of a sudden at the 11th hour,
That's right.
whether it's Norfolk Southern, in this case it's DOT came in and made some changes.
That's correct.
Across the board, and now that's what slowed it down and having to deal with these traffic signals.
Correct. We had a similar issue at the J.R. Allen off-ramp. It was that same kind of issue. We got right to the end, and then when we submitted our signals for approval from their traffic department, they sent back revisions that we had to make before we could open that one. So it's fairly similar. We are very responsive. Once they get them to us, they go to our engineers, and then we get the drawings down to the signal company to make their revisions.
Right.
So the signals themselves are still coming. It's just the poles that had to be lengthened that caused some issues.
You know, it gets frustrating at the time, but at the end of the day, I guess that's why they call it construction. Construction's construction, and stuff happens. In this case, you know, and probably in most of these cases of construction across the board throughout the city, you're going to have various challenges that come along with it, but I just want the people to know that this is, you know, this is something that, you know, was not foreseen in the beginning. It wasn't part of planning. It wasn't part of the initial design and phases and all. All that was moving accordingly, but this is like an 11th hour deal where, you know, in this case, the DOT comes in and changes requirements of signalization and all, and then we have to adhere, and it just slows it down a little bit longer. So. Appreciate you guys and the traffic engineering department working hard and diligently on it, and hopefully we can get it moving and get it open soon. People are really anticipating it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Before Mr. Hutchinson leaves the podium, I have Director Newman here, but want to introduce the gentleman who is replacing John Hutchison in part, because John Hutchison is going to keep doing a lot of the things that he has always done, but would you introduce him?
Sure. This is Ryan Pruitt. As City Manager said, he's now the construction manager, and he's been working with John. He's been on board a couple of months now, I guess. He has a construction engineering degree, which is kind of an unusual degree from Purdue. So he has been working. He's been working at Fort Benning, and then he also worked for a private engineering firm over in Montgomery. So he has a lot of good experience, and he's done a really good job for us so far. So we just wanted to make sure we introduced him to council, because you'll start seeing his face a lot more.
Great. Well, welcome. Glad to have you.
And I really think with Ryan and with John together, we're going to have a dynamic construction team.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt. Pardon?
Yeah, well, and that's right. Every new employee has to get up and give a 5-minute speech, so this is yours. Go ahead, and off the top of your head.
Would you like to please say a word if you like?
It is. I am excited about the opportunity. I did get to meet the city manager when I first came on, and some of the other department heads, and kind of let them know my experience come from. We did work for a couple of big general contractors, so worked for the Corps of Engineers, the State Department, private owners, other cities. So I'm excited to use that experience and bring it to the city of Columbus and manage these projects, get them completed successfully.
Great. Well, we'll keep it exciting for you. I promise you that. Yeah.
Well, thank you, and I know there's a matter on the table for vote.
Sure. Well, thank you very much again. Welcome. And we will conclude our purchases with this. Discussion has been concluded on this last item F, which is a change order for Veterans Parkway and Double Churches Road. It is now queued for voting. And it does pass.
Okay.
All right. And before we move on, Mr. City Manager, the Mayor Pro Tem would like the floor.
I wanted to ask Mr. Hutchison.
Okay. We'll fetch him.
Okay. Well, we're waiting on John to come back. I guess your presentations are next.
Say that again now?
Next thing on the agenda, presentations and
Yes, I'm
updates.
done with my agenda, other than the updates. I've got Breathe Easy Columbus, and then the FY16 budget overages, follow-up, and then healthcare update. And so,
Well, I want to know,
besides,
Mr. Hutchison,
Mayor Pro Tem Pugh has a question for you.
on the Forest Road Bridge,
Yes, ma'am.
do you have any updates on that? I know one bridge is opened up.
Correct. Any day now, we should begin to call from AT&T letting us know that they've relocated their services. We're literally just waiting on an email any day. Our contractor's ready to get back in there, so as soon as they give us a call to say that they've disconnected their services, we're gonna hit it the next week.
When you get a
So-
call, will you please let me know?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're going to go ahead with Breathe Easy Columbus. It should be a short update.
Okay. Deputy City Manager Goodwin.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
A few months ago, Breathe Easy Columbus Coalition came to council, and they came to provide an update and just to discuss the benefits of a smoke-free community. Greg Hutchison and Jamie Austin, and I believe Greg, of course, is here, and I thank them for their continued efforts. And so they want to just update us on where they were, this coalition was, in terms of no smoking. This morning or this afternoon, I'm here just to share with you what the city's efforts are, and then to also provide you with a snapshot of what other communities are doing in terms of providing a smoke-free environment. The General Assembly some time ago amended Chapter 12 of Title 16 and of Title 31, which prohibits smoking in all enclosed facilities by creating the Georgia Smoke-Free Act of 2005. And this act came into effect July 1st, 2005. And some of this, what it does is it exempts some things are exempt in this particular chapter, and of course the exempt areas of this Smoke-Free Act are those outdoor areas of places of employment and also convention facilities, meeting rooms and public and private rooms that are contained in a convention facility. The cities just recently, August the 1st of this year, updated its smoke-free and tobacco-free workplace policy. And this policy is designed to regulate the use of tobacco and smokeless tobacco products in any smoking materials by city employees while they are on duty. This includes spit tobacco or e-cigarettes and vaping, and also the smokeless cigarettes. And so that just means those employees, in terms of smoking any of those tobacco products, cannot do it on city grounds, vehicles, or buildings, or anything that's owned by the CCG. They have to go off campus in order to smoke. It is also prohibited during regularly scheduled games on playing fields and dugouts, or within 25 feet of permanently affixed spectator seating in our city parks as well. Some of the other communities that we looked at just to see what their policies or ordinances were as it relates to a smoke-free environment, Savannah, Georgia, and Auburn, Alabama both have a smoke-free community. They have ordinances that says that individuals and persons, not just employees, but the public, cannot smoke or vape in enclosed public spaces, to include restaurants and things such as that. And then, of course, in Savannah, their civic center, the same thing. You cannot go in and smoke or use e-cigarettes in their civic center. The city of Augusta, Richmond, of course, same thing, no smoking inside public buildings or their vehicles, very similar to ours. And New Orleans, no smoking or vaping in enclosed public areas in the workplace. They do allow it in outdoor areas such as sports arenas and recreational sporting events and things such as that. Lexington Fayette bans smoking inside all buildings that are open to the public or the workplace, and that does include e-cigarettes. Further, Savannah and
Lisa,
Auburn.
can I ask you, just so I'm clear, on Lexington and New Orleans, I'm trying to discern the difference here. So in those, both of those, you can smoke in like a stadium
Yes.
or park?
Right.
Okay.
That's the difference. Savannah and Auburn, their exemptions are, of course, in Savannah, of course, it excludes private residences, as does others. But of course, in Savannah, 20% of the hotel motel rooms have to have set aside smoke rooms. So 80% of those rooms are smoke-free rooms. In Auburn, Alabama, they do have designated smoking areas, and then, of course, private social functions and are exempt, as well as those rooms that are separated by a bar in a restaurant. And the CCG, the city, we no longer have designated smoking areas as a result of this new policy that we have just put in place as effective August the 1st. So we no longer have the designated smoking areas, and of course our employees want to know, where do they smoke? What can they do? They cannot go into the parking garages and sit in their vehicles and smoke. They have to go off the campus and smoke. That I'd like to present to you regarding no smoking.
We have had smoking in here since the beginning of the restaurant. In fact, we used to sell cigarettes in here until the ordinance was passed.
Once the ordinance was in place, all of the restaurant owners knew that they were going to be under the same rules.
I didn't like the government telling me what I had to do. I hit all the smokers in my little niche. I was very successful. It's a casual steakhouse. It's very laid back. You don't have to wear a coat and tie. It's my restaurant, it's my investment that I made, and let the government tell me what to do, I thought was wrong. And then finally passed our ordinance, and my customers, I found, prefer the non-smoking ordinance. I had people come and say, Tico, instead of coming once a month now, we'll come, say 4 times a month. Whereas I never heard a smoker say, we're not going to come back anymore. I've noticed that, some customers I hadn't seen in 4 or 5 years all of a sudden started coming back in.
It's the only reason I'm here tonight. I wouldn't come if it was smoking.
My business actually increased. I've realized that I had more non-smokers than smokers. My maintenance bills on my air conditioning units have gone down over the years. All my equipment lasts longer, and the food tastes better, because now you don't have that nasty old smoke smell in the area. And also, I'll save the fortune on my dry cleaning bill.
Most of our customers we know by name, and it has a really nice community feel to it. I get to work with my husband every day, which is nice most of the time. I think since the ordinance has been in place that it's been nothing but a positive experience for us. We have a lot of kids that come to our cafe, and they're at the mercy of the adults that brought them there, so they don't have the option to leave, and they're put at risk being around smokers and breathing the same air.
We originally opened up in 1939. My great-grandfather Big John opened it, and we've been in business now for 73 years. 90 to 95% of our business is takeout. But that still wouldn't stop people from smoking. A customer walking with a cigarette, in fact, while the customer's sitting there smoking a cigarette, I would be at the end of the counter smoking a cigarette talking with them. Everybody just smoked. When they first passed the ordinance, I was a little bit nervous, but it ended up not being a big problem at all. The ordinance passed, everybody knew it. They knew they couldn't smoke. I'm very pleased. More pleased than I thought I would be. It wasn't hard at all, and it didn't affect business negatively at all.
The majority of our customers are non-smokers, so they're happy that the ordinance is in place, and we've had nothing but a positive reaction.
I thought it was going to be hard to tell my customers they couldn't smoke, but in the end, it didn't change business at all.
The non-smoking ordinance will be a non-issue. It won't hurt your business one iota.
the Breathe Easy Coalition for providing that video. And of course, ultimately, what they would like to see is for us to create some type of an ordinance that would create a smoke-free community. But that is not why I'm here, and that's not what we're requesting here today. But I think that's just their ultimate goal. But they have partners such as the American Cancer Society, the Cancer Action Network, the American Heart Association, and of course the American Lung Association, and all of them. And I think we all know the devastation that secondhand smoke brings and what it creates to us all. And so ultimately we want to make sure that we create a smoke-free environment for persons who are in our community coming to do business within the city, and then of course with our employees as well. Greg Hutchison is here, and want to give him an opportunity if he would like to say anything. Don't want to put you on the spot, but okay, you're good. Okay, but that concludes the presentation.
And so, Madam
All
Mary.
right, we've got a few counselors. Counselor Allen?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask if the chamber had an opportunity to have input on behalf of their
Not
members.
from this.
No, and we will follow up with the chamber, and we'll let you know what their feedback is as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Counselor Huff?
As part of what I'm piggybacking on, Councilor Allen, how do we begin this discussion with the business community?
Well, and I would certainly want to ask Councilor Allen, the chamber, to take a poll of chamber. Yeah.
Sounds like there may be some
That-
information related to the
If I
chamber.
could.
Hold on.
The
Yes,
chamber
sir.
president would.
Yeah, just
I'm sorry.
introduce yourself, yeah. for the
Perry
record.
Alexander, 7651 Rivercrest Drive. The chamber president came to our presentation, I can't remember the date.
Yeah.
But
He was here in the audience.
Yes,
And I
and
think
he also
He
spoke.
also spoke.
He spoke on behalf of the recommended ordinance.
But we'll ask them for something more formal or, from the business membership that we can share with you. And,
He's very supportive.
okay.
Thanks, Barry.
All right, well, thank you. It looks like there's no more discussion on that item.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes that. And so we'll move on to the fiscal year 16 budget overages, and we'll have Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge come forward.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. For the update today, we are just requesting authorization at this point, if there's no objections, to process and make payments on those invoices from the Sheriff's Office. We are starting to get calls from the vendor. We have the Trinity for the food services that needs to be paid for May and June, and also for the outside medical. We're getting calls for those vendors. So at this time, we're just requesting, if there's no objections, to go ahead and pay those invoices that we had presented to council at the last meeting. The other offices that were over budget, there are no outstanding invoices that need to be processed. Those overages occurred due to a payroll or an internal service that was provided within the city, fuel or auto parts and supplies. So there's no additional transactions that need to occur in FY16 for those offices, but we do need to handle the payment of the invoices to the vendors.
Well, and let me say it this way, a little bit different. We intend to proceed to pay the invoices unless you object. And what we will do is bring back, when we do the budget amendment on our normal schedule, which is normally around October or November timeframe, we typically will bring you the budget amendment one time each year. And so we will proceed with payment of the overages, and then when we bring back the budget amendment in October, it will all be a part of that, and we'll vote on the budget amendments one time, and that would be all-inclusive. And that that's how we'd like to proceed.
Okay, we've got several counselors. Let's see, Mayor Pro Tem.
On those outstanding invoices, did we ask the question on when they actually send us the bill?
Because we had bills that dated back to the second quarter of 2000, or the second quarter of FY16 from the last 3 months of FY15, and council had asked
That's
about
correct.
that. So did we determine?
We have not received a response back from the vendor on when those bills were initially submitted,
Okay.
and we have requested that information.
I do understand that Lucy Sheftel, our Assistant City Attorney, wrote a letter
Yes.
to the vendor pointing out and reminding them of their responsibilities under the contract, and making various demands or firm assertions as to how they shall proceed going forward. So why don't we make sure that council gets a copy of that letter? Okay? And, or Clifton, I know Lucy isn't here today. And let's do follow up on that, because I'm not sure what's going on there. But both the vendor and the sheriff's office should be able to tell us when it came in. So I don't understand why we can't get that information. Mayor Pro Tem, anything else from you on that? Okay, a couple other councilors.
I'll stop.
Oh, well, you can keep on.
No, I'll stop.
All right. Well, you can jump back in then, if you want to. Let's see here. We've got Councilor Woodson next.
Thank you for that update, Mayor, and I just want to touch a little bit more, piggyback on her. When we're going to send the payments now to these merchants, these contracts, are we telling them that going forward, we would like a copy of the bill when they send it to the Sheriff's Department and to our Finance Department?
We can definitely request
Yeah,
that.
we are, as directed by council, we're working on how we will proceed going forward in dealing with these situations.
Right, I understood that, but, and I know that's coming as we're working on, but I'm saying is, like, if we're going to go pay, I'm going to use CVS as an example. We got an invoice that was like 6 months ago or something like that. We just got the invoice, we're writing the check, we're sending it to them. Are we also sending them a letter requesting in the future to please also send us a copy of the voucher for payment? That's what I'm asking,
well-
Pam.
And we can do that for these vendors. There is, to our knowledge, only one vendor, which is our clinic provider, that the invoice is for October through December of 2015. The other invoices are May and June invoices, so they're not a large lag time in those particular invoices, but we can request that they submit directly to finance as well.
I just want that they all come to us, so that way we don't run into the problem we're in now. I know we're working to put it in an ordinance and go through the process, so I'm asking why we're working on that process during the budget process. Can we do that now?
Yes.
Just send them a friendly letter or something saying we would hope you would consider sending us also a copy of it, since we are the individuals that write the check to your facility.
Let's
Okay,
do that as a
thank you.
referral too, so that there'll be a written response to council as to how that was followed up on. Let's see here.
Thank you,
We've
Mayor.
got Councilor Thomas.
Ms. Hodge, as I recall, and I want you to make sure that I am recalling correctly, when we had this report from you at our last meeting, we had received invoices from the CHC, the medical care folks, only up through December of FY16. Is that correct?
December of 2015,
Right,
yes.
2015. Have we now received invoices from them for the third and fourth quarters of FY16?
No, we have not. And that was part of the letter that Ms. Sheftal sent to them, and we have not received those yet.
I guess part of my concern, excuse me, part of my concern is, and I don't know, we're hearing different things from different people. The sheriff told us when he was here that he had not gotten those invoices. And we have said, but we want to say to CHS, when you send it to the sheriff, send it to us. Well, if they're not sending it to the sheriff, they're not going to send it to us. So what I would like to see, Mayor, in addition to what Councilor Woodson was saying, is something in our contract with CHC that says if we don't get a bill for you from services within 30 days, we're going to cut your payment by 10%. If we don't get it within 45 days, we're going to cut it by 25%. If we don't get it within 60 days, you don't get paid, or something to make them understand that they have got to send us a bill in a timely manner. And they can send it to the sheriff and to the finance department and to anybody else they want to send it to. But if there's, I don't understand how you do business if you don't send a bill for 6 months. I don't understand how you stay in business and get paid, if you don't get paid. But I think we need to do something to make, maybe not only CHC, if they're not the only ones, but if you don't send us the bill in a timely manner, there are consequences. And it's not, Councilor Woodson said, send them a friendly letter and say, hey, could you send us a copy? That's not what I want to do. I want to say, you send us a bill. And if you don't send it in a timely manner, there's some, and I don't know all the legalities. That's why I'm not a member of the bar. But, somewhere along the line, we need to be able to say to the vendor as well as to the sheriff's office, this has got to be done in a timely manner. And if it's not, there are consequences.
There is a provision in the contract, that's part of Lucy's letter, and we'll make sure that y'all get that. There is a provision in the contract that requires them to settle up quarterly. And so they're not doing that. And so we've pointed that out to them. I will tell you also, you'll be interested to know that their contract is due for renewal in August of 2016, this month. And we've also apprised them of that. And so, whereas we don't want to be left in the lurch without some services for the jail, nevertheless, we have the opportunity to express our dissatisfaction or to get more to the bottom of what exactly is going on. And so we've mentioned that to them as well. So,
well, I would hope that we do whatever is necessary to make sure that, because I don't want the private provider of medical services to believe that it is the city of Columbus that is not paying the bill. We pay the bill when we get the bill. And so I want to make sure that we get it in a timely manner.
And it is unusual that a company that doesn't submit the invoices timely when it's a reimbursement payment. We're reimbursing them for what they've paid out for that quarter. So for them to not submit it in a timely manner is just a cash issue for them.
Part of what the sheriff said to us was the company, CHC, is not necessarily submitting to the private vendor in a timely manner.
Right.
And so we need to make sure that whatever that process is, that our good name is not sullied by somebody not giving us the information that we need in order to pay the bill.
And before we had CHC in place, we paid the outside providers directly. And with the contract, that was one of the provisions of the contract, is they would scrub the invoices, make sure that all the charges were correct, and they would pay. And we felt that reimbursing them quarterly would have them turn those around pretty quickly, and that has not happened. So we'll look at that.
Well, maybe if we say we're not going to pay you at all.
We have not.
yeah, we still haven't heard back from them. We've asked them, when did you submit these invoices? And it's been radio silence. So they won't tell us when they did, and I don't know why, but we're going to see if we can't get to the bottom of it.
Well, and I do think that if the contract is coming up, that we ought to take a close look at that. If they're not providing us with information that we need in order for us to do our business, then there needs to be a consequence to that.
Okay. Councilor Davis.
No, we talked clearly about that last week, that we got some things that are broken that need to be fixed and cleaned up if we're ever going to get this whole matter resolved and get back on track. And, one of the things, Mayor, that concerned me, I don't know if that's what you were alluding to a minute ago, was we talked about one, I guess, contract, but it's a no bid contract. That's what the conversation was, but I don't know if anybody, I think it failed to it failed to mention here at the council table, are there other no-bid contracts out there that are just being paid that we have no idea about? And I don't even know how they go about doing that. I don't know, you just pull somebody off the street and say, hey, I'm going to do business with you for whatever price? I mean, I don't know, but certainly that's not the control measures that we're talking about here and how the city government does business. I mean, it's the wrong way to do business. So,
Pam, were there any
Mayor,
other
I am
no
concerned
bid?
about that, and there were some other line items that I'm concerned about as well that we talked about earlier. We talked about earlier about concerns that we're starting to see with, whether it's with vehicle usage or maintenance or logs that were reported. But I'd ask the question about fuel cost. When we're seeing substantial fuel cost savings across the board in this city, and will continue because of the price of oil and the cost of oil now. I mean, we're going to continue to see those savings. Where are they?
Yeah.
And if not, then what are you doing different from the prior year and the prior year?
Right.
We need to know these things,
Yeah.
and we've talked about that, and certainly that's what an operational and performance audit would find out and understand and would provide a template to work from.
Yeah.
And I think we all want that. We all want a game plan. We all want something to work together and work towards.
Pam, we want to hear about no-bid contracts, if there's any others. I believe that was a referral last time. And also, just to assure you, Councilor Davis, I mean, I think one of the objectives, and Councilor Henderson stated quite eloquently last time, is we have to have a higher level of communication with the Sheriff's Office and certainly our Administrative Finance Department and Council about these issues, because otherwise it just leads to these quite unfortunate surprises, and there's nothing about our policies that should be a surprise. So what did you find related to that referral, or have you concluded that yet?
We're still reviewing that, but we have found 3 at this point. Diamond Pharmacy, which was one of the ones we talked about at the last council meeting. Also, Lightspeed and Advanced Disposal are 2 other contracts that have been initiated but did not go through the bid process.
Okay, the Mayor Pro Tem asked you to state those again. Diamond and what else?
Lightspeed and also Advanced Disposal.
Okay, what's Lightspeed and Advanced Disposal?
Lightspeed has to do with, and I don't know the specifics, a technology type company, and then Advanced Disposal is the waste disposal at the jail.
Okay, so you're getting more information on that?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
For us, okay. Let's see, we've got Councilor, sorry.
Just waste disposal, is it regular garbage?
Dumpster, they have a dumpster. Some locations do have a dumpster.
Why wouldn't they contract with the city?
Why couldn't, contract with the city?
I don't know why we couldn't handle the collection of garbage at the jail. Yeah.
What is the value of that, Pam?
I don't know offhand, but
Why don't you
I can
come back
provide
with that, and let's just report, I mean, there's just, obviously, we've identified several ways we could potentially improve, and the city is here with all sorts of resources the taxpayers are already paying for. There's no need for the sheriff, well, unless we could learn more, we're struggling with why the Sheriff's Office would have to contract with a private firm for that. So I think that'd be something that people want to know about. Councilor Baker.
Thank you. It sounds like a lot of things are coming under review. And in addition to the timing issue on the medical, and I'm sure we're already doing this, but would you double check this other company supposedly, I guess, scrubbing the invoices, but about the rates? I'm assuming we're reimbursing at Medicaid rates?
Medicaid rates, absolutely.
But it never hurts to double check that, especially if there are things out there we're not certain about.
Sure.
But that I just want to make sure that all of our inmate and indigent are at the Medicaid rates. Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's see here. We have Councilor Thomas.
Ms. Hodge, would you go back to something that you said at the beginning of this about when we had this conversation last time, one of the overage was in the marshal's office, and we had asked that be, I had asked that be postponed until the marshal could be here, and we've now received word from him that he's not going to be able to be here. Can you remind me where we are in that overage? Is that one of the ones that you said you could take care of, or I guess I just need to know where are we in that piece?
Yes. The marshal's office was over budget, $9,156.78, and at the presentation, we did recommend that there were two options, one to the municipal court judge and the municipal court clerk came in under budget, and so as municipal court in total could cover the overage of the marshal's office as one option, and then looking for any change moving forward was another option.
So the $9,000 that was the overage has been taken care of?
Well, it could be covered in the final budget amendment from the departments that came in under budget within municipal court. But the payments have been made already because they were personnel related or they were internal services related. We're not holding an invoice that hasn't been processed for the marshal's office.
Okay, I guess part of my discombobulation here is that we had said that we would like to have the marshal here for some discussion on this.
That's correct.
And he has now said to us in an email that he would not be available to do that. But I just wanted to make sure that his not being here would not stop making the payments that we need to make.
That's
and
correct.
You're saying that would not?
No, it will not.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have Counselor Davis.
And somewhat, in resolving this matter, I mean, like you said, Mayor, the lines of communication have to be open. I mean, we just got to, we've asked these elected officials to work with us. We've asked for audits. We've asked for our internal auditor to go over there, a forensics auditor, look at an operational audit, a performance audit, and just look at these things that are being talked about, because it seems like, here we are, and this is my point. Here we are, we're in August, we're almost through with August. And before you know it, it's going to be mid-year. It will be a midterm, it'll be mid-year, and we're not making any progress. And whatever this council decides to do, and, it's clear to me, it's evident to me, there are requests being made, and I guess the position is that we're being inadequately funded. Okay, well, that's easy to say. But when you start really looking at the evidence, when you really start looking at the documents that we're trying to get and the records, it says something totally different. So, the old saying, I had a hitting instructor told me one time, I'm from Missouri, don't tell me, show me. And that's what I'm talking about. It needs to be put out on the table, and we need to get down to a conclusion and find out what we need to do and where we can work. And at the end of the day, if it is true that there are issues from this standpoint that need to be funded and things that we need to look at, then we're just going to have to address that. But the only way to get down to it and to find out what's going on is to be able to go in there and get a good, clear picture, and that's what you have. That's what you have an internal audit for.
Yeah.
In this case, a thorough audit of these issues that are being presented time and time, or else what's going to happen is we'll be right back doing this next year.
Right.
And you'll be there, and you'll be there, and you'll be there, and we'll be saying the same thing all over again. How do we get to this point? And I'm just going to make this real clear. What is happening when you look across this government to all of our employees right now is they're being asked to step up to the plate and do more.
Yes.
And in the past, we have tried to help them in many ways. And the only way we could help them, whether it's with retirement or health care costs or whatever it may be, we would go into the fund balance and we'd go into reserve to help. And all these things we're doing right now is taxing and putting a burden on this government where this council no longer has those options we're backed up to that 60-day mark, and there's no funds available to deal with these challenges that our employees have. And these things that people need to start realizing that it's having consequences across the board, not just in one office, in one department. It's having consequences across the board of this whole city government.
Yeah.
And, and it hurts me to see others have to go through this and have to make the adjustments because of what we're having to deal with. And it just doesn't seem like there's any progress being made right now.
Well,
so we got to get down. We got to fix this thing.
Well, and we appreciate that. As we talked about last time, these are fairly unusual circumstances that there's not a higher level of cooperation. And so we've been working on that as council has charged us. I will say, as you all know, it should be in your packs, Councilor Henderson wrote a wonderful letter to Sheriff Darr laying out some of the things that we believed there was agreement on from his presentation here. And so those are some of the things that you're looking for and other councilors are looking for, agreement of oversight that we can go in as the law allows us to and look into some of these issues. And then also we have learned and confirmed that council does have the authority and may already have eliminated by ordinance the deputy position that is of issue that the marshal has continued to fund. And so if that is the case, which we're just confirming and we'll report back to you shortly, and of course the marshal's not here as we have, he's got a family situation, hopefully he'll be here, we will have confirmed that information. We can then, and may well have already have, taken the position that that position is eliminated. So if, when there is attrition, somebody retires, leaves, whatever, it cannot be refilled. And so that is within council's purview. So I just want you to know that we are working very hard to relieve the frustration that we have felt, which usually is accomplished and remedied in other communities through cooperation. If you don't have that level of cooperation, then we have to pull out the tools in the toolbox to see how we can effectuate the effect we want, which is, or the end we want, which is being good stewards of the taxpayer money. And things, only those things we fund being actually expended, as it is this exclusive jurisdiction of this legislative council to do. So I know how frustrating it is. We've had to really get down to some things that a lot of communities don't even have to go to because it's done cooperatively. When it's not, you really have to fall back on some other tools that aren't used as often. So that's what we're doing, and just know that. Let's see, Mayor Pro Tem.
But Mayor, I would much rather be frustrated by $9,000 versus $2 million.
Oh, I know.
Over budget. And reading this open letter to City Council from the marshals describing the different overages he has, I'm satisfied with his explanation. And as far as the part-time, I think it was a part-time position, where he talked to payroll or talked to finance on how he could fund it within his budget. That's something we have to discuss. One of the things I'd like to see is, when we did the OLOS, we promised the marshal a certain number of deputies. And I'd like to see how many was already budgeted in his budget, in his center, before we did the OLOS edition. So Pam, if you can get that information for me.
Yeah, that would be good, and I think, I think you're right, Mayor Pro Tem, the rub or the question, the discussion, the debate that we can have when Pam brings that information back is not that there's not fuel cost and not that there's not uniform cost and all the things. It's that had the positions that council defunded and perhaps eliminated by ordinance been defunded, then there would not, those monies would have been available for these other things that would have been over. So that's where we're having the discussion.
Well, when he went to finance on that position, he should have been referred back to council from finance.
Went to finance on the position,
Well,
Pam, but I'm not sure what she's talking about.
And that is, you're absolutely correct. I think, the point she's making is they went to finance, and according to what I read in the letter, that finance said, here's how much and here's how you do it, and you may want to respond to that, but in other words, we allowed it to go through our process, and we should have taken a position that it was defunded, eliminated by council. I can't put that person on payroll unless you go back to council and they authorize a position, because you're only authorized X number.
Right.
And this would make it one in addition to that number, and I have no authority to allow that unless directed by the council.
Okay,
And
but
also,
If that makes sense, Mayor.
it makes sense, but also,
to me.
we have a shortage of public safety employees in the police department,
Right.
which means we have a shortage of public safety patrol out in the district. And we get calls every day, every week from our constituents saying we don't see the police officers in the district. Well, they only have so many. I'm not mad at what the marshal's office is doing out there. When I see a marshal's car, if I don't see a Columbus police car. And it's not like they're just sitting there, they're not doing something. They're writing tickets, and the revenue is going in the general fund. So I'm not too sure that we don't need to leave that half person there.
Is it a half person? I thought it was a whole person, that it was a deputy position. Pam, try to clear this up.
And I can't comment specifically. I wasn't copied on the email until this morning, and I haven't had a chance to really read it to respond back to some of the comments in the letter. But it is a whole position, and the marshal moved money within his budget out of those things that we listed at the last council meeting in order to fund that position. And I think one of the comments was that finance provided him the information, and we'll provide a response back to that.
Yeah, why don't we do this? Because, the marshal's not here, as he said. He's got a family situation. He has responded in writing, which I haven't read. I've seen it come in. Apparently, the Mayor Pro Tem's seen it.
I just got
But,
it at the table.
Yeah, but you haven't. So I don't know what's in there. I don't know about this other position. And also, by that time, we will have determined whether or not council actually literally abolished this position, at which point it shouldn't ever be rehired. It would be no different at that time than if any other department head just went out and hired somebody council had not created a position for. And so we need to get to the bottom of that. It's certainly been defunded, but I know it can be abolished, and perhaps has, but I think you should come back and address all that, because otherwise we're not talking, it doesn't sound to me like we're talking about the same thing.
Right. And
And nobody at finance has the authority to tell them they can use money that council's told them is not funded. So I want to get to the bottom of that, too, okay? All right.
And that goes back to when we put employees in the personnel system. If the position is not there, how can we put them in the system?
Right. It needs to be eliminated, for sure, if it has not already been. So let's look at the marshal's response and put that on. But for right now, the only thing that is before us is that you're going to go ahead and pay the third-party vendors that have been incurred by the sheriff's office, which exceed his budget, unless there's any objection of council.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Well, I see no objection, and so go ahead and pay the third-party vendors. We'll discuss then at a later meeting where the money's coming from a budgetary standpoint and how we go forward on these various items of remedy. Okay? Thank you. All right, Mr. City Manager.
The final update is on health care. Director Rita Hollowell is coming.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We came to you back in May, early May, and toward the end of May to talk about the health care proposal for 2017. Since we last met, we have had 25 meetings with employees, providing information on the health care proposal, the plan design, the premium rates. More than 500 employees have participated in those employee information meetings. We believe the meetings have been very beneficial to the employees. We believe that the information sessions have allowed us to dispel a lot of misinformation that was initially put out regarding the plan, the health care plan. So we think the meetings have been extremely beneficial to the employees. We've also met with the Employee Benefits Committee. And I know it's been a long morning, but I did ask the Employee Benefits Committee members, those who could, come today. Seth Brown is here, a couple of folks from the police department and from the fire and EMS are here as well. And certainly they are available. Seth Brown is the chairperson of the Employee Benefits Committee, and he's certainly able to come and address the council and share information from the committee's view in terms of the employee perception and reception of the proposal that we've been discussing for the past couple of months. But what I wanted to do today is go through, again, the health care plan proposal and make sure that I have proper guidance from you going forward with the implementation of the health care plan for 2017. I do want to pause just real briefly. Also, our benefit consultant representatives are here with us. Also, Tammy Starkey and Todd Hooper are here. So the action plan for 2017, just a quick review on these. We've presented this a couple times, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but we're available to answer any questions that you have. But the action plan for 2017 includes expanding access to the Health and Wellness Center for all employees that are enrolled on the health care plan, regardless of what plan that they are on, replacing the HMO plan due to large capitation fees with an open access, a point of service national network plan. We're also replacing the PPO plan with an open access, a point of service national network plan. Then we're developing a high and a low plan. Both are open access, point of service. We're titling them a silver plan and a gold plan. And then we're tying financial rewards to plan costs based on wellness participation. So that's our action plan for 2017. In summary, our health care plan for 2017, the city's contribution increased from $5,650 annually for FY16 to $6,100 in FY17 per budgeted position, totaling an increase of $1.2 million on behalf of the city. The approved contribution rate that council voted on back in 2015 was a 70-30 split, meaning 70% the city would pay, 30% employees would pay. Over the past several years, however, the city's portion has not added up to the 70-30 split. Rather, the city's paid as much as 83%, where employees have contributed 17% of the cost of health care. The mayor recommended and you approved in the FY17 budget a 2% COLA increase, which will offset the employee premiums by $1.3 million. The current enrollment in the health care plan, we have 51% of the employees have employee-only coverage, 8.3% of employees have employee and spouse coverage, 28.8% have employee and children coverage, and 14.8% of employees have family coverage. As we said, with the adoption of the plan design changes for 2017, the Wellness Center plan will go away, but will be available. The Wellness Center will be open to all employees, no matter which plan you're on, whether you're on the silver plan or the gold plan. You have an option of being able to go to the Health and Wellness Center and take advantage of the services that are offered there at no cost to the employees, no co-pay costs, and no cost for medication if you're dispensed medication there. The next slide is a summary comparison of the current offerings for 2016. These are the primary plan design changes that's proposed for 2017. These are just the major provisions of it. You see that we have 3 plans to the left of that chart for 2016, the Health and Wellness Center plan, the HMO plan, and the Point of Service plan. For 2017, you'll just have the Silver plan and the Gold plan, and both of the plans are Point of Service plans. So the plans themselves work the same, it's just the plan divisions, provisions for each one are different. For example, with the deductible for 2017 on the Silver plan, your deductible is $2,000 or $4,000. For the Gold plan, your deductible is either $1,000 or $2,000. You have an 80 and a 90% co-insurance. The out-of-pocket maximum is the same for both plans. It's the $6,350 for an individual, $12,700 for a family. That's the same for both plans. If you look at your office visit and your office visit co-pays, whether we're talking about a primary care physician or your specialist, those are essentially the same. They don't move a whole lot for 2017. In your Silver plan, it's either 30 and 40, or for your Gold plan is 20 and 30, and then emergency room copay moves just a little bit, either $200 or $150. And then the prescription drug plan does not change at all. Those tier rates remain the same at 20, 40, and 60. And then, of course, there's mail order for those folks that are on maintenance drugs, which helps lower the cost of those out-of-pocket expenses. Are there any questions on this slide in terms of what's currently being offered and what's being proposed for 2017 in terms of the major plan provisions? Are there any questions or requests for changes?
Retha, we appreciate you taking into consideration, the staff, and I know you were asking, so it's not like we had to change your minds, but hearing all the feedback related to the wellness initiative. So I just want to personally say I appreciate you bringing forward the options that other cities are doing, but then recommending the one that's the best fit for us.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, Councilor Baker.
Yeah, just one quick question, if I may, before you go. On the global out-of-pocket, looking through all the numbers, this is the second or third time so we've been through this. The only thing that really jumps out at me is the increase in the global out-of-pocket between the Health and Wellness Center plan and the 2 new plans. That's a substantial increase, and that's the only thing that just jumped out at me is
Sure.
Yes. What was really driving that, and was there any thought to a phase-in over a couple of years, or what was driving that big increase?
Absolutely. On the Health and Wellness Center plan, the out-of-pocket maximum, you're right, is the lowest now, is the lowest plan overall offerings. And yes, there are a good number of folks that take advantage, or have taken advantage of that for the past several years. The Health and Wellness Center plan, as we know it, before I say that, the other 2 plans, the out-of-pocket maximum, have already moved to the $6,350 for an individual and $12,700 for a family. And so when we go to the Silver plan and the Gold plan in 2017, those are the 2 options that will be available for employees. And yes, I agree, for those folks that are on the Health and Wellness Center plan, the out-of-pocket maximum is going to be the higher reach for them in terms of what they're currently expending. The reality of it, though, Councilor Baker, is it's not sustainable to continue in the format that we're in. So that's why we're moving to something that is more sustainable. I will say about the out-of-pocket maximum, in terms of the number of employees that have actually reached that, whether we're talking about on the Health and Wellness Center plan, the HMO plan, or the Point of Service plan. In 2014, there were 4 employees out of our over 2,000 employees that actually reached the out-of-pocket maximum. Of those 4 employees, one of them was a pre-65 retiree. In 2015, I believe there were 2, and I'd have to look this up, but there were 2 employees that reached the out-of-pocket maximum. And in 2016, to date, there has been one employee that has actually reached the out-of-pocket maximum. So it's well below 1%, while I realize that that number can be very scary. And when we met with employees at the different meetings, that question came up quite a bit. But hopefully it allies some fears that the chances of someone reaching the out-of-pocket maximum is very slim. It is a possibility, obviously, but it's very slim. And just to reiterate on the Health and Wellness Center plan, to continue that plan as it is currently designed is not sustainable, is the short answer.
So as far as the number of employees impacted, you don't see that as really being material?
Absolutely.
I realize if you're the one impacted, it's important.
Right, it's a big deal.
It is.
If you're that one.
But overall,
yes,
you don't see a material impact
exactly.
across the board to the employees.
Exactly, and that's looking at a 3-year history.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
All right, thank you, Retha.
The next slide is of the premium rates that are being proposed. The rates represent 30% of the employee cost-sharing rate here. It is done in consideration also that recognizing the rates for many employees, particularly for the employee, we know that 51% of the employees have employee-only coverage. So for those employees, for the most part, with employee-only coverage, the 2% COLA that has been recommended and passed will cover the cost of the premium increases here. But these are the rates for 2016 to the left, and to the right, the proposed rate for the silver plan in the top chart, and then in the bottom chart, you've got the proposed rate for the gold plan. Keeping in mind that the gold plan is just what it sounds like. It's gold. It's a buy-up plan. It's for those. It's a richer plan. For the most part, the silver plan is the middle-of-the-road plan and will work for most employees. But for those employees that feel like they need the richer or would want the richer, the buy-up plan, they have the option of selecting the gold plan. The primary differences between the two plans, obviously the gold plan costs more. The gold plan allows for you to have less out-of-pocket when you access care. For example, if you know you're going to be going to the doctor, you know you're going to have a particular procedure going, and you don't want to have a lot of out-of-pocket maximum, and the gold plan may work for you. But you're going to pay for that benefit in higher premiums. Your lower premiums are going to come in the silver plan.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Huff.
Did the potential gold plan participants come from the PPO? Would that be the group that would be most interested in the gold plan?
Well,
where are they coming from?
Well,
as far as what they had in the past? The top plan we had in the past, is that group that was paying 65, 69?
The plan that an employee selects in 2017 is certainly going to be a personal decision that they would make. That's one of the reasons we've been doing the plan comparisons, so that you look at what you had in 2016, no matter what plan you had, you get to look at the rates there and all the plan provisions associated with that plan. And then you get to compare that with either the silver or the gold plan in making your decision.
But my question is, on the PPO, was that our top plan last year?
What we did is compare the HMO plan more closely with the gold plan. There are
okay. The HMO?
Right. But again, it is an employee's decision.
I know, I'm just trying to figure out what was the best plan we had in 2016. That group was in the HMO plan?
Well, the more cost-effective plan currently right now is the Health and Wellness Center plan. It has the lower deductible, it has the lower out-of-pocket. So
I know, but that's not my question. My question is, in the 2016 year, was the HMO the top plan? Is that most costly as far as premium?
It was the most richest.
Okay, so I'm saying that most of the people that may be interested in the gold plan may come from the HMO group?
That's very hard to say.
I think it's going to be a mix. I mean, it's going to be when they sit down and compare what they have with what they're going to get in the silver versus what they're going to get in the gold.
Yeah.
And just because they paid more because they weren't in the Health and Wellness Center or the HMO doesn't mean that they want to pay more to be in the gold, because it's
Yeah, well, I know they have
Yeah.
choices, but I'm just saying the premium jump
yeah.
would be extreme for, I guess, coming from the Health and Wellness Center to the gold plan, is my point.
True.
Yeah.
In
That's,
terms
I
of
think
the
most
plan.
employees are going to the silver plan, but one thing, it's interesting when you compare HMO to PPO, silver to gold. Historically, our HMO plan was not our most expensive plan. The PPO plan was our most expensive plan, and it would have continued to be that way, except when we got into the heated discussion related to HMO and PPO in 2014 or 15. Council made some adjustments at the end because of some employees' concerns, and those last-minute adjustments are actually what caused the HMO plan to catapult in cost, which would normally be the richer PPO plan. So our more modest plan cost more than our more extravagant plan because of some adjustments that were made at the concerns of some of the employees. And so I think that's one of the reasons Retha's having a hard time saying that HMO is comparable to the gold plan, because it's not, and wouldn't have been if there hadn't been those non-offsetting adjustments made by council in that particular year when there was a lot of controversy around it.
Very good. One other point about the HMO plan. While the benefits are rich, it is a very limited plan, limited to the state of Georgia. One of the good things about going to either the silver plan or the gold plan, there are national network plans. Typically with the HMO plan, you have to have a primary care physician, and that primary care physician is the person you would go to if you need to see a specialist. They would farm you out. With the either one of the plans that's being proposed, the silver or the gold plan, you don't have to have a primary care physician. You can, and it may be recommended that you do, but you don't have to have a primary care physician. If you need to see a cardio specialist or some other specialist, you can make an appointment and go. So that's one of the differences with the HMO plan.
Okay, so we'll have Health and Wellness Center, and then we'll have the silver and the gold plans. Those will be the three choices?
No.
No.
There will be two plans, the silver plan and the gold plan, and no matter which plan you're on, you can go to the Health and Wellness Center.
Okay, you can use the Health and Wellness with either one.
Say again?
I said you can use the Health and Wellness Center with either plan.
Absolutely.
Okay. And, well, let me ask this question, make sure I understand it. If I was in the gold plan, and it's rich in benefits, and I'm paying $104.65 biweekly, what would be my advantage to use the Health and Wellness Center?
Well, the Health and Wellness Center, this is a real good question. The Health and Wellness Center, as I said, provides free services as a primary care physician would provide. If you dispense medication there, there's no cost for it. So for a person that has the gold plan and whatever it is tier that they're on, the advantages to them going to the Health and Wellness Center is that they can get in relatively easy. Typically within 3 days of calling in, you're going to have an appointment to go and see a physician. When you go in, they're not going to take any money from you. Your office visits is going to be free. If they dispense medication to you, it's going to be free. They can oftentimes make referrals to a specialist, get an appointment a lot quicker than you can call, or I can call making an appointment. Okay. If you, for example, have to have some type of x-rays, some type of diagnostic exam, they can refer you to a contracted vendor that we have, the Columbus Diagnostic Center. You go over there and they're not going to ask you for any money, no matter what x-rays that they provide for you. And so many other services that certainly are being brought online. They will help coordinate services also between the Health and Wellness Center and specialists that you're seeing, so that you're not, number one, being over-medicated. depending on what the specialists, other specialists might be providing you. And then oftentimes, the Health and Wellness Center can help you. If you go to a if you go to a specialist, that specialist prescribes some medication to you or says you need to take some type of special test. You pick up the phone and say, hey, let me call the Health and Wellness Center and see if they can help me. Health and Wellness Center, sometimes, a lot of times, they will be able to help you with the lab test. That's not going to cost you anything. If the specialist prescribes you medication, you may be able to bring that medication back, have a visit with the primary care physician there at the wellness center, and if they have the medication there, they'll dispense it to you there. So those are just a few examples, but so if you got the gold plan, keep the gold plan, but absolutely, there are still many benefits that are available by someone using the Health and Wellness Center as well.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Let's see, we've got Counselor Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. In looking at the plans, Ms. Hollowell, I was looking at the premiums 2017 plan for the employees plus the premiums for the retirees.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we were charging everybody the same rate. Why are we charging the retirees more?
The rates that you see on the next slide, this slide is for the active employees, and on the next slide are the rates for the pre-65 retirees. These are folks that are not on the post-65, which is another plan in and of itself, is the Medicare Advantage plan. But the folks that are pre-65 retirees are also on the city's active plan. They're on the same plan that active employees are on. In 2015, when you voted on a cost share for employees of a 70-30, you also voted on a cost share for the pre-65 retirees. You voted that you would pay 50% of the cost for the retiree, the individual, and that there would be a sliding scale for their dependents that would go from 100% or the 50% cost of that, and each year that would reduce by 10%. And in 2017, we'll be paying 20% of the cost.
Well, I'm not trying to take up a lot of time. I was just interested in, I looked at this wrong. I didn't realize it was pre-retiree.
Pre-65 retirees, and the pre-65 retiree rates are monthly rates, and that you see here, because they pay monthly.
Bi-weekly and monthly.
And the active employees are bi-weekly rates. So that's one of the reasons why they look a lot different too.
And the retirees have the Medicare, we buy the Medicare plan for them?
The post-65 retirees are on a Medicare Advantage plan. That is correct. It's a fully insured Medicare Advantage plan.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. That concludes questions at this time.
Okay. So I won't go over this one. Councilor Allen has already brought it up, but this is the premium rates for the pre-65 retirees, and it was recommended, and council did approve a 0.25% COLA increase effective for the pre-65 retirees in 2017. The next two slides are more of the plan provision, the major components of the plan provisions for the health care plan. So this was designed to give employees a very good comparison of whatever plan they were on now, one of the three plans, and then a comparison of the silver and the gold plan. It just outlines the major provisions of those plans to help employees make the best decision that they could possibly make. So that's what is on page, is a repeat of what we've already said, but it puts it in another a way for employees to look at it and thus compare the plan designs, the plan offerings, the premium rates, so that they can make the best decision for their families. The last slide is of the wellness initiative or the wellness incentive that we talked about, that we proposed, that council, that we would like to implement in 2017, and are certainly making a recommendation and requesting your approval to move forward with a wellness incentive. The wellness incentive that we are recommending is that because what we would like all the employees to do is submit to well screenings, similar to what you would go to your doctor for or your provider for, annual physical. This would be less invasive, but it's very similar to it. Basically, the well screenings involve a health risk assessment, which is a written questionnaire about your lifestyle, and then submit to biometric screenings. And if you're deemed at risk, you would meet with a health coach. By doing that, if we can get as many of our employees that are on the plan, we'd like to get all 2,000 plus of those employees on the plan to do it. You don't have to do it, but it is something that we would like to have in place for employees to be able to do. And by doing so, those employees would receive a $500 credit on their deductible. And that's a big deal if you're accessing care with any kind of regular basis. Sometimes it only takes accessing care one time, and you need help with that deductible. So we're requesting or recommending that employees submit to a well screening annually and receive a $500 credit on their deductible. And again, that is submitting to a health risk assessment, a biometric screening, and if they're deemed at risk, then they would meet with a health coach. And this is for any plan that they're on, the silver or the gold plan, this would be applicable. So and we've talked to employees a lot about it. This was a bone of contention with employees because they felt like we were forcing them to do something, and we're not. But with this particular option, employees can participate if they want to, or if they don't want to, they don't have to participate. We're encouraging all employees to participate, and I believe the $500 credit on their deductible would be a great incentive, and we'll have other incentives that we're trying to utilize to encourage employees to participate. The information that we get back will be aggregate information. It will not be information about any employee's health. We will not know that information. We are prohibited from receiving that information. The Health and Wellness Center provider would be the administrator of the wellness incentive, and they would collect that information, and we would receive aggregate information that would tell us about our employees. It would tell us about their claims, not their claims history, but in terms of where we stand as an organization. Do we have a lot of people that are diabetic, that have high cholesterol, and so that we can target our efforts, so the Health and Wellness Center can target its efforts as it relates to employees. So it's a extremely good benefit that we're looking forward to being able to implement with council's approval, and we will start on this initiative in November, and we'll have, the provider will have staffing available to do the well screenings. That should be done over a 2-week period. It'll be very simple, very straightforward. They'll come to your work site no matter where you work at. If it's a public works, at the police department, at Muskogee County Prison, they will come there, and we'll go through a quick process. A lot of the employees are very familiar with this. We've done well screenings before. We had a very positive well screenings last year with our health fair. We had over 200, almost 250 employees participate, did this same kind of thing. So it's something that employees are very familiar with, and we're hoping to be able to go forward and do it again this year. But we need your approval to do so.
Okay, we've got, actually, Counselor, we'll let Counselor Huff go first, so Counselor Baker's in line.
Okay. It says it's going to be an option.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Because they had some complaints in the past that, excuse me, that they felt like they were being forced into it, and if they didn't participate, it would be an additional cost in their premium. or something?
Right.
So that's been removed?
Absolutely. We did initially have two options that employees could participate, but again, with the employee meetings that we've had a chance to talk through exactly what we're trying to do with the wellness initiatives, with the screenings, and explain very fully, number one, that we're not taking employees' personal information and making a decision about whether they're going to be hired or fired or retained. So we don't get that kind of information. And also, with their input, this particular offering is they can do it or they don't have to. For example, if you don't do anything, if you decide, I really don't want to participate in that, nothing happens. You're going to have a deductible anyway. But if you decide
that $50 was removed?
Say again?
The $50
Yes.
or whatever, that was removed?
Yes, and when we
Okay.
talked back at the end of May, we did not propose that recommendation. It was an option to have a $50 surcharge, but the $50, it was never about us getting the $50. It was the idea of encouraging employees to participate in it and a wellness incentive to help improve their health.
Yeah. I mean, I like the way it's laid out with the options there. The incentives are there, but it's an option, so they can
Absolutely,
participate.
it is
if they
an
like.
option. If the employee decides, I do not want to participate in that, you don't have to participate. Nobody's going to call you. Nobody's going to beat your door down and say, hey, you have to do this. Nobody's going to threaten you with anything. You can do nothing.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we've got Counselor Baker.
As far as the risk assessment and the screenings,
Yes.
if someone has their own, will that be based on standardized criteria? If somebody had their own primary care physician, could they authorize the release of that information to the
Yes.
wellness center and it would qualify for that? Or is it-
Absolutely. We had that question come up several times. So if someone says, well, I really would rather go to my primary care physician and get this done, yes, they can go to their primary care physician, get this done, bring it back to the health and wellness center and say, hey, here, I got my primary care physician, here you go, and they still get the same credit. They will need to do it within a certain time period. For example, it can't be a year old, but within the parameters that the wellness center provide, absolutely. You can go to your own primary care physician, because I recognize that some employees are going to be more comfortable. Hey, I've been going to my doctor for the past 10, 15 years. I can go there. I'm going for a physical anyway, so they can go there and get documentation.
Okay. And will this, as a policy, will this be brought back when we have a little time to digest it?
Well, in fact,
I know we got an
'cause
open enrollment issue,
will be coming up. I'd really like to bring it back to you, the next business meeting, with a resolution to at least proceed with this as we go forward to open enrollment. And open enrollment is
October, the first week in October.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Counselor Thomas.
Ms. Hallwell, I had an employee tell me the last week or so that he had been told in one of these employee meetings that his deductible was going to increase to $3,000. I don't see that anywhere.
Right.
I don't see a $3,000. So was he just misunderstood what he was told, or do you have any? He said that several people in the meeting talked about the $3,000 deductible, but there's not a $3,000 deductible. Is that, am I reading this correctly?
You're reading this correct. This is my first time hearing about a $3,000 deductible, so I'm really not able to respond to it.
Okay.
I've not heard that.
If according to the chart here, then the employee deductible is $2,000 and the family is $4,000. Go back a couple of, well, there.
It's on this one, but I'll go back further. For the silver plan, there's a $2,000 individual deductible and a $4,000 family deductible, and for
Okay,
the...
let me make sure that I know how to get to the $4,000.
Okay.
If I have a family plan, and say that's me and the kids, and I hit the 2,000, oh, no, let me back up. Everybody that's covered under there, when we hit $4,000 deductible, that's it. Is that correct?
That's your maximum out-of-pocket for that calendar
Those
year.
two are not combined. The 2,000 and the 4,000 are not combined for a $6,000 deductible.
That is correct. That is correct. The family would be, for your deductible, is going to be the 4,000.
So that if I currently am under the HMO plan with the family, my deductible is going to increase from $2,000 to $4,000.
If you select the silver plan.
For the silver plan.
That's correct.
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure that I've got all of those numbers correctly, and I will go back to this person that said that to me, and
Yes. And
that's not accurate.
I'm more than happy to talk to them if you want to refer them. If you want to refer them, I'm more than happy to talk with them.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, we have Counselor Allen.
Could you send this to us in an email?
Absolutely.
Electronic format? Thank you.
Okay. No further questions at this time?
Well, and with no further questions, unless you want more time, I'd like to bring this back at the next business meeting, just as a resolution that we can move forward, and we can have more meetings as we prepare to go into open enrollment with employees, but we've had a lot of meetings. I've attended a number of those meetings, and employees, HR director went anywhere they said they wanted to meet, if it was 4 or 25 or whatever. So we've had a lot of meetings. So we're prepared to bring it back so that we can prepare for open enrollment.
Okay.
So we'll bring it back on the 23rd.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Retha. All right, we have a short, Mr. City Manager, is that it for you?
That concludes my agenda.
Okay, we have a short clerk's agenda, so we'll turn it over to Ms. Washington for that.
Madam Mayor and members of council, on the clerk's agenda, items 1 through 5 are memorandums from me advising of upcoming board vacancies on our Animal Control Advisory Board, our Board of Honor, our Convention and Trade Center Authority, our Public Safety Advisory Council, as well as our Uptown Facade Board. Have an add-on. We received an email from the Secretary of the Public Safety Advisory Council. We've got 2 seats vacant, our District 1 seat, Agnes Evans, and District 3, Laverne Brown has resigned. Can I get a motion to receive these resignations?
That's a motion to receive in a second. We have Counselor Barnes with the question.
I think Agnes Evans, she can be, that was just her first term, if I'm not mistaken.
She can, but she has now resigned, Councilor Barnes.
She has resigned.
These are letters of resignations.
She didn't let me know. Last time I spoke with her, she was agreeable. Okay, there's no problem.
Okay, we've got a motion and second to receive the various memoranda cited by the clerk. All those in favor, please state aye. You've got a motion and second that the minutes be received. And that's the minutes of the Board of Tax Assessors, the Housing Authority of Columbus, the Land Bank Authority, and the Recreation Advisory Board. All those in favor, please state aye.
On our board appointments, on the Board of Family and Children Services, Ms. Judith Lopez has been nominated by Councilor Barnes. She can be confirmed to succeed.
We've got a motion and second for confirmation. All those in favor of Ms. Judith Lopez for the Board of Family and Children Services, please state aye.
On our Civic Center Advisory Board, Councilor Woodson is still working on a replacement for Mr. Irving. On our Columbus Aquatic Center, Mr. Rick Cravens, as well as Coach Bobby Howard, have been nominated. They can be confirmed.
Got a motion. Is there a second for confirmation? All those in favor, please state aye.
And I also have another nominee from Councilor Garrett, Ms. Kara. Councilor Garrett, how do you pronounce that last name? Ibrahim. We will bring this back at our next week meeting for her to be confirmed. On our Civic Center, on our Circle Commission, Ms. Tishawn has been nominated to succeed Mr. Augusto. She can be confirmed.
We've got a motion. Is there a second for confirmation? All those in favor, please state aye.
On our Community Development Advisory Council, Councilor Davis. And then on our Hospital Authority, Mr. Ken Chong has resigned. Council will need to make 3 nominees for the authority to select Mr. Chong's replacement. Keep Columbus Beautiful Commission, Mr. Henry Dixon has been nominated. He can be confirmed.
Move confirmation.
Got a motion and second for confirmation of Henry Dixon on Keep Columbus Beautiful. All those in favor, please state aye.
And Councilor Allen will need someone for Ms. Ridley's seat. Okay. On our tree board, Ms. Glenda Culpepper has resigned. We'll need a nominee for that at-large seat, as well as the Valley Partnership. Mr. Tyler Townsend has also resigned. Then our Youth Advisory Council.
We've got, hold on a second, we've got Councilor Baker.
Add on for Councilor Henderson for today. Can we do that, please, ma'am?
We can.
Okay, all right.
Are you making that motion?
Okay,
Second.
we'll receive that in the form of a motion to excuse Councilor Henderson's from today's meeting. Is there a second? A second. All those in favor, please state aye.
And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
All right, great. We have a request for an executive session based on issues of litigation and personnel. All those, I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session. And there's a second. All those in favor, please state aye. All right, we are in executive session. Please clear the chamber. Thank you. All right, we are back on the air. We have just exited an executive session that was on matters of litigation as well as personnel. No votes were taken. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move a motion to.
We got a motion and a second to adjourn. We will see you on the fourth Tuesday of the month, and we are adjourned. Thank you.